Kevin Langston had always been 2 steps ahead of the world around him. A 26-year-old cybersecurity contractor in Portland, Oregon, he lived a double life. By day, he helped small companies protect themselves from ransomware attacks. By night, though, he tested his own limits, quietly probing private servers, playing digital detective in shadowy corners of the internet. But there was one name he had never dared to touch: Club Obsidian. It was a whispered legend in his Discord forums, an invite-only, underground network that catered to unusual personal transformations. It wasn't illegal exactly, but it was deeply secretive, wrapped in firewalls Kevin had never managed to penetrate. Until now. Late one Thursday, Kevin sat in his apartment, a half-eaten burrito on his desk and multiple browser windows blinking around a single glowing file. He had found it. Not just a trace of Club Obsidian's private server, but a vulnerability. A way in. It felt wrong. It also felt exhilarating. He clicked. Within seconds, lines of code scrolled across his monitor, quick, dizzying, beautiful. He barely noticed the time pass. At one point, his fingers stopped moving. On the screen, a single phrase pulsed in glowing purple font. "Welcome, Seeker. The game begins." Kevin blinked. He hadn't expected a reply, let alone interaction. It wasn't a trap. It was a door. He typed, "I'm listening." The reply came instantly. "We see potential in you, Kevin Langston. But potential must be tested. Do you accept the dare?" Kevin hesitated. It was absurd. But his heart pounded. Yes. The screen went black. He didn't remember falling asleep. All Kevin knew was that his phone alarm never went off. Instead, he woke to silence and the sound of something humming in the walls. His apartment was still. Too still. Then he noticed it, the thick envelope on his keyboard. He opened it slowly, revealing a single black card with white letters. "Your challenge awaits. 1 week. No outside contact. No digital escape. Instructions follow." His laptop powered itself on again, but with a new interface. No OS, no browser. Just a map and a countdown timer. 6 days. 23 hours. 56 minutes. He should have pulled the plug right then. But he didn't. Day 1, arrival. The address led him to an inconspicuous building downtown. Kevin was surprised by how normal it looked, a converted brownstone with black curtains and ivy creeping up the side. He rang the bell once, unsure why he was obeying at all. A voice crackled through the intercom. "You're early." "Good. Come in." The door opened. A tall woman in a silver blouse and floor-length black skirt greeted him. She was elegant, poised, and unreadable. "You can call me Mira," she said calmly. "No phones. No watches. No aliases. You are here as yourself." Kevin blinked. "What is this place exactly?" "A place of transformation," Mira replied. "We teach those brave enough to let go of who they were and step into something they never expected." Kevin chuckled nervously. "This is a game, right? Like an escape room or something?" Mira smiled faintly. "In a way. Except the escape is from yourself." She held out a folder with the word candidate stamped across the top. Inside were 6 envelopes, each labeled with a different challenge. Voice. Grace. Appearance. Confidence. Femininity. Choice. Open one each day, Mira instructed. Follow what it says. We observe and guide. Kevin stared at the pages. "And if I quit?" "You're free to leave. But you'll never find this place again." He didn't know what compelled him to stay, but he nodded. Envelope 1, appearance. That night, alone in the private suite he was assigned, Kevin opened the first envelope. It was simple. "Tonight, you will shed the skin of your old identity. You'll dress in what has been provided and look in the mirror for 10 full minutes. No judgment. No escape. Just observation." He laughed. "Seriously?" But the closet in the room had already been stocked. A soft blue satin robe, a matching camisole, a wig on a stand, and a small vanity set. "No way," he whispered. But the dare, it tugged at him. The timer. The mystery. The part of himself that had always wondered what it would feel like. Kevin dressed. The robe clung to his skin in a way he never expected, cool, flowing, and not wrong. The wig was harder. He fumbled with the clips. But the mirror didn't lie. 10 minutes. He sat there, eyes locked on the reflection. At first, it was silly. Then strange. Then something else. As if his own eyes were trying to tell him something he'd always buried. When the 10 minutes ended, he was still staring. At midnight, the screen in his room flickered on. Mira appeared, smiling faintly. "Well done," she said. "Most candidates don't make it past night 1. Kevin cleared his throat. "So, what's the point of this?" Myra's eyes narrowed, kind but sharp. "To show you something you didn't know you were capable of. Or maybe, to remind you of what you've always known." Kevin didn't sleep much that night. The silk robe still clung to his skin like a second identity. He had hung the wig back on its stand, but the faint pressure from the clips still tingled at his scalp, like ghost fingers reminding him it had been there. He tried to rationalize it all. It was just a dare. A psychological experiment. A clever puzzle dressed up as theater. But then, why did he feel like something had shifted? Something internal. Envelope 2, voice. The next morning, Mira appeared in his suite just after breakfast, her silver blouse replaced with a soft lavender tunic, her demeanor as poised as ever. "Today is about voice," she said, sliding the second envelope across the table. Kevin opened it slowly. Inside was a single sheet with a poem printed in delicate cursive and a line at the bottom. "Read this aloud until the voice you hear stops sounding like Kevin and starts sounding like someone you don't recognize." He looked up. "You want me to fake a feminine voice?" Mira arched an eyebrow. "Not fake. Explore. Discover. Let your ears adjust to the sound of unfamiliar softness." Kevin rolled his eyes, but he took the paper. She handed him a small headset mic and a tablet. "This will record you. You'll play each attempt back. Listen. Don't cringe. Observe." At first, he hated the sound of his voice. Too flat. Too deep. Too him. But then, he adjusted his pitch. Just slightly. He softened the consonants, let the vowels stretch longer, added breath where he normally didn't. Attempt 7 was different. Still Kevin. But gentler. More uncertain. Less guarded. By attempt 15, Mira returned. She said nothing. Just listened. Then, softly, she said, "That's her." Kevin looked at the screen. "Her?" Mira nodded. "The person inside you who doesn't need to hide behind code and sarcasm. She's not fully visible yet." But her voice just peeked out. Kevin flushed. "This is absurd." "Is it? I'm just curious." "This isn't me." Mira smiled with maddening calm. "That's what most of them say. Until it is." Envelope 3, Grace. The third day began with a velvet box delivered to his suite. Inside, a pair of nude pumps, modest height, surprisingly elegant. A note inside read, "If you can't walk in her shoes, you'll never understand her world. Today, you walk until you don't stumble." Kevin groaned. "You've got to be kidding." The corridor outside his suite had been cleared. A long stretch of polished wood. Mirrors on either side. He hesitated, then stepped into the heels. They weren't sky-high stilettos, but they felt impossibly steep. His first step wobbled. The second nearly ended in disaster. By the fourth, he was gripping the wall. But the fifth felt different. More balanced. He imagined Mira watching from one of the many cameras. Judging. Waiting. He gritted his teeth and walked. Halfway down the corridor, he found a rhythm. Not perfect, but smoother. The mirrors didn't show Kevin anymore. They showed someone trying to own their space, not shrink from it. He didn't say it out loud, but the thought whispered in the back of his mind. "I look okay like this." That evening, he found a card slipped under his door. "You're not failing. You're unfolding." No name. No signature. Envelope 4, Confidence. Day 4's challenge took a different turn. When Kevin entered the atrium, he found Mira waiting beside a tall vanity and a clothing rack. "You'll be attending dinner tonight," she said. "Dinner? With people. With others who've walked this path." She pointed to the rack. It was filled with outfits, dresses, skirts, soft blouses, even a few tailored suits with feminine cuts. "Choose what feels powerful. Then come downstairs." fully prepared. That includes voice, hair, walk, presentation. He stared at the options. What if I can't do it? You can, she said simply. But you have to decide you're worthy of being seen. Kevin didn't reply. It took him 2 hours. He settled on a navy blue wrap dress with capped sleeves and a hem that reached just past the knee. The neckline was modest but flattering. The heels were shorter than yesterday's. He brushed his hair, fastened a silver clip behind one ear, and redid his makeup twice before getting it right. When he stepped out of the suite, Mira was waiting. She looked him over. Name? He blinked. Kevin. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Try again. A pause. Then, softly. Kara. Mira smiled. Much better. The dinner. The dining room was candlelit and intimate. For others sat at the table, 2 sissies in pastel skirts, one androgynous figure in a gold blazer, and a tall woman in elegant black. Everyone was mid-transformation in their own way. Kevin took the empty seat. No one laughed. No one stared. They talked about challenges. Awkward makeup fails. Voice slips. Breakthroughs. Dreams. Fear. It wasn't a test. It was a communion. Kara spoke slowly at first. Then more freely. By dessert, she laughed. Genuinely. And when someone said, "You've got the prettiest lashes," she didn't flinch or deflect. She smiled. Nightfall. Alone in her suite, Kara stood before the mirror again. The robe was gone. The wig now felt like part of her. The name still caught on her tongue, but not as much. She reached for the last envelope. There was only one word on it. Choice. The word echoed in her head like a bell. Choice. It wasn't a command. Not another dare. No timers, no scripts. Just one envelope. One word. For the first time in days, Kara, still newly shaped, still trembling at the edges of who she was, had no one telling her what to do next. And that terrified her more than anything. The final envelope. She stared at the unopened card in her lap for almost 10 minutes before finally peeling it open. Inside was a blank white sheet, except for a single line in handwritten ink. Choose what to wear tomorrow. Choose who wakes up. No rules. No voice training. No Mira standing at the door with a clipboard and judgmental eyes. Kara blinked at her reflection. Her makeup from dinner still lingered, faded but present. Her hair clip had slipped loose. And yet, something looked more finished than she expected. She stepped to the wardrobe. Half of it was filled with the elegant pieces she had come to know feminine, soft, tailored. The other half, her original clothes. Jeans. A flannel shirt. The boots she wore the day she arrived. It felt like a coin toss. Old life or new one. Old self or Kara. But this wasn't a decision born of panic or pressure. It was invitation. Kara reached for the wrap dress she'd worn the night before. Then paused. Instead, she chose something new, a pale gray blouse with subtle embroidery and a pair of high-waisted slacks that flared gently at the bottom. It was her. Neither caricature nor costume. She left the makeup light, brushed her hair back into a low ponytail, and whispered softly in the mirror. Hi, Kara. I see you. The grand chamber. The next morning, she entered the atrium where the others had once gathered. Mira stood waiting, flanked by 3 familiar faces, the androgynous guest from the dinner, one of the sissies in soft lavender, and a woman Kara hadn't met before, tall, regal, with cropped silver hair and fierce eyes. They all wore versions of their truth, masculine and feminine elements blended in unique, expressive ways. Mira gestured to the center. Today, you declare. Kara stepped forward, her heels soft against the marble. Name? Mira asked gently. Kara hesitated. For just a moment. Then, Kara, are you certain? She nodded. It may not be permanent. But it's mine. And it's real. The woman with silver hair stepped forward. Then the right is yours. She handed Kara a small box. Inside, a silver chain with a pendant in the shape of a phoenix. Rising. Becoming. Wear it only when you're sure, Mira said. But know this, every step you took here was yours. Not ours. Kara placed the chain around her neck, the cool metal settling against her chest like a final seal. Returning. That afternoon, Mira met Kara at the threshold of Club Obsidian. "You're free to go," she said. Kara furrowed her brow. "Just like that. You weren't a prisoner, Kara. You never were." She stepped back, allowing the door to open into sunlight. "And if I want to come back?" Kara asked, half afraid of the answer. Mira smiled. "Then you'll know how to find us." 1 week later. The Portland apartment was just as she left it. Dishes in the sink. Sticky note reminders from a different life still clinging to the fridge. But the laptop was clean. Reset. The old messages in her hacking server? Gone. Instead, one new line sat in her inbox. The only firewall that mattered was the one you just walked through. She exhaled. Later that evening, she stepped into a new neighborhood coffee shop, not as Kevin. Not fully as Kara either. Just as herself. The barista smiled. "Name for the order?" Kara hesitated, then smiled back. Kara. Portland hadn't changed. The city was still gray in the mornings and alive with neon by night. Food trucks lined the streets near Powell's. Bikes sped past murals. And at every turn, Kara saw remnants of a world that didn't know her. She had changed. But what no one told her was how quiet the aftermath would be. No more challenges. No envelopes. No elegant woman named Mira evaluating her walk or voice. Just her own reflection now, scrutinizing her every move in the bathroom mirror, asking the same relentless question. Was it real? Back to the circuit. Kara reopened her freelance accounts, using her old name for legal reasons, but only when necessary. Kevin Langston was still on her tax forms, but to clients and peers, she reintroduced herself subtly. "Hey, call me Kara. Just a personal preference." Most didn't blink. A few raised brows. But in the tech world, identity was already fluid. Code didn't care what your name was. Still, every time someone said he or bro or dude, it hit her like static in a clear signal. Worse, she didn't correct them. Not yet. There was still a firewall inside her. One she hadn't breached. The closet rebuild. The hoodie and jeans combo still hung in her hallway closet. But each time she reached for them, something stopped her. It wasn't shame. Just dissonance. So she started rebuilding. One piece at a time. First, she bought a few fitted blouses, soft fabrics that gave her room to breathe without shouting, "Look at me." Then came looser trousers that flattered her legs. Neutral colors. Gentle lines. It wasn't feminine. It wasn't masculine. It was hers. She added a pair of heeled boots, low ones. They made her stand straighter. A new shade of lip gloss. A soft scrunchie she found herself using more than she ever expected. And a mirror full length leaned against her bedroom wall like a window into a possible life. A message from the past. One evening, her phone buzzed with a name she hadn't seen since before the Obsidian project. Eli, old Discord bud. "Yo man, haven't seen you on the servers lately. Where you been?" Kara froze. It wasn't malicious. Just default. But the way it clanged against her chest was louder than any insult. "Hey Eli. Yeah, took some time offline. Got real introspective LOL. Also, it's Kara now." She stared at the blinking cursor. Still figuring it out, but thought you should know. The response came faster than she expected. Respect. Take all the time you need. You still coming to DEF CON this year? Kara blinked, surprised. Thinking about it. Haven't decided who I'd be there. Whoever you are, save me a chair at the crypto panel. You always catch stuff I miss. The barista again. A week later, she returned to that same coffee shop. The same barista smiled from behind the counter. "Hi again. Kara, right?" The warmth in her chest wasn't just from the coffee. "Yeah," she said, her voice steadier now. "Thanks for remembering." "I love your earrings," the barista added. Kara touched them lightly. The phoenix pendant from Club Obsidian now hung beside a smaller moon charm she'd bought at a night market. "Thanks," she smiled. A glimmer of belonging. That evening, Kara attended a local meetup for indie game designers, something she hadn't done since the transformation. It was in a casual pub, low lighting, relaxed crowd. She dressed how she felt most herself: soft blouse, tailored jeans, subtle makeup, and a cropped jacket that gave her shoulders shape without hiding her curves. When she introduced herself, she didn't stumble. "I'm Kara. I work in cybersecurity and visual design. Happy to meet you." No one questioned it. Not one sideways glance. And for the first time in weeks, she didn't feel like she was playing a part. She was present, unhidden. Late that night, back in her apartment, Kara booted up her system. The Club Obsidian folder was still on her desktop. She double-clicked. The interface flickered to life, but it was different now. No more countdown. No threats. No riddles. Just a single new message. "Welcome back, Kara. You've completed your entry level. Advanced tier unlocked when ready." Beneath it was a prompt. "Do you wish to explore deeper?" She stared at the blinking cursor and smiled. She didn't click it yet, but she would. Kara stared at the blinking cursor on her screen. "Do you wish to explore deeper?" She didn't click it that night. Not out of fear, but timing. She wanted to be ready. Not just to dive back into Obsidian, but to face what it might ask her to become. For the first time, she wasn't chasing a thrill or solving a puzzle. She was following a thread back to herself. The curious pull. The days that followed were quiet, productive, peaceful. And yet, Club Obsidian lingered at the back of her thoughts like a dream she half remembered. The phantom tug of Myra's voice. The whisper of silk against her skin. The look in the mirror that said, "You're not done yet." On the fifth night, she clicked. The screen rippled with violet light, then rearranged itself into a new interface she hadn't seen before. Sleek. Minimalist. Elegant. At the center was a symbol she didn't recognize, an Ouroboros shaped like a keyhole. Underneath it, "Welcome, Kara. Your transformation is not complete, it is evolving. To proceed, you must revisit your origin." And below that, a surprising prompt. "We've sent you a package. It arrives tomorrow." The arrival. At exactly 11 a.m., a black box with silver lettering arrived at her door. No return address. No branding. Just one phrase etched on the lid. "For the Kara you're still becoming." Inside, she found three things. A sleek black envelope labeled, Stage 1, Presentation. A USB drive marked with the Obsidian symbol. A sealed card with her name handwritten in cursive. The card read, "Kara, this is not about obedience anymore. This is about embodiment. Stage 1 will not tell you who to be. It will reflect who you are. You are no longer a guest. You are a participant. Stage 1, Presentation." Inside the black envelope was a sleek instruction sheet. You will attend a masquerade. Anonymous, elegant, and free. Your challenge: express yourself without speaking. Let your appearance be your voice. Underneath was a location and time. Saturday, 8 p.m., 11:33, Alder Street. Come masked. Come transformed. Kara exhaled. This wasn't a training session. This was a debut. Preparing the look. She spent the next 2 days assembling the perfect outfit, one that wasn't assigned or approved by anyone. One that felt right. She chose a midnight blue dress with asymmetrical sleeves, subtle shimmer, and movement like water when she walked. Feminine, but not fragile. Heeled boots. Statement earrings. Smoky eyeliner. A soft lilac gloss. And the mask, a deep silver half mask with lace filigree across one side. It veiled her without hiding her. When she looked in the mirror before leaving, she felt a quiet pride stir. Not because she looked beautiful, but because she looked intentional. The masquerade. The venue was a reimagined library turned event hall. Candlelight flickered behind arched windows. Velvet drapes framed the tall wooden doors. Inside, dozens of masked figures mingled, some in gowns, some in tailored suits, some in androgynous combinations Kara couldn't stop admiring. It wasn't a costume party. It was a constellation of fluidity, expression, power. Mira was there. Not in her usual silver, but in a flowing crimson coat with feathered accents and obsidian heels. She didn't approach Kara. She didn't need to. Her glance was enough. A silent nod of approval and acknowledgement. Kara spent hours simply existing. She danced. She glided. She let herself be admired and admired others in return. She didn't say a word the entire night. She didn't have to. Her expression was her language. Her movement, her truth. When she finally exited the hall, her chest ached from something new, not nerves, not fear. Elation. The USB drive. Back home, she inserted the Obsidian USB into her laptop. It didn't boot up like a typical device. Instead, it opened a single audio file. Myra's voice spoke calmly. Stage 1, complete. You are no longer learning how to be Kara. You are becoming her. You will be contacted by someone from the next tier. They will not wear masks. They will ask you uncomfortable questions. You must answer them as Kara. Then silence. And then, you've moved beyond the mirror. You're standing in the light now. Don't turn back. Unknown caller. The next evening, her phone buzzed with a private number. She answered. A warm, androgynous voice said simply, Hello, Kara. I'm your next unlock. The voice on the phone was calm, unhurried, like silk over static. Hello, Kara. I'm your next unlock. Kara froze. She had been expecting something mysterious again, perhaps more code, more riddles. But this voice wasn't hiding behind shadows. Who are you? She asked, her voice instinctively dropping into that practiced softness she'd been nurturing since Obsidian. There was a pause. Call me Jules. I'm not a handler or a gatekeeper. I'm your mirror. You don't unlock anything without reflecting first. Kara blinked. Reflecting? You've dressed the part. Walked the walk. Posed in the mirror. Now comes the part most run from, speaking their truth. Unfiltered. Out loud. Are you ready? Kara wanted to say yes. But she hesitated. I think so. Good, Jules said. Then we begin. Voice Lessons 2.0. Jules didn't operate like Mira or Evelyn. There were no instructions. No scripts. Just daily phone calls. Each one had a theme. Identity. Fear. Desire. Loss. Freedom. Kara didn't expect it, but these conversations became her new training. Jules challenged her gently, pulling stories from her that she didn't know she needed to tell. When did you first feel like you were hiding? What would happen if you never used the name Kevin again? What scares you more, being seen or being ignored? Some days Kara cried after hanging up. Some days she smiled like she had just remembered who she was supposed to be all along. The public test. 2 weeks later, Jules gave her a final assignment. You'll speak at an open mic night. 5 minutes. Any topic. No mask. Kara nearly dropped the phone. What? I'm not a performer. You don't have to be. Just be you. Let them see her. He sent her the location, a cozy LGBTQ+ cafe called the Velvet Hour, known for poetry, music, and honest storytelling. Kara almost didn't go. But as she stood in front of her closet that Friday night, something strange happened. She stopped thinking about what to wear. Her hand reached for the rose-colored blouse with the bell sleeves, the one she always liked in secret. She paired it with black slacks, silver earrings, and her phoenix pendant. No wig, no heavy makeup, just lip gloss and courage. At the Velvet Hour, the space was warm and candlelit. A small stage, a microphone, maybe 30 people in the audience, chatting softly over tea and wine. When the host called her name, Kara Langston, she froze for half a second. But then her heels clicked forward. The microphone hummed. Her hands trembled as she adjusted it. She looked up. And she spoke. Hi. My name is Kara, and this is the first time I've said that out loud into a microphone. Nervous laughter. For most of my life, I was a ghost in my own story. I coded other people's visions. I lived behind a screen. I even hacked into places just to feel like I could still reach something real. Then one day, I hacked the wrong system, or maybe the right one. And instead of getting locked out, I got let in. I met a woman who didn't just strip away my firewalls. She held up a mirror and said, "You've been disguising yourself in binary. What would happen if you started speaking in color instead?" So I tried. I stumbled. I wore heels that felt like stilts. I learned to walk, talk, and even sit all over again. But this, right now, this is harder than all of it. Because I'm no longer afraid of being feminine. I'm afraid of being real. And tonight, for 5 minutes, I want to be real with you. My name is Kara. Not because someone told me it had to be, but because I tried on every other name and none of them fit. This one does. When she stepped off stage, the silence was deafening. Then, applause. Loud. Sustained. A few people even stood. Kara blinked back tears. She had spoken. And she had been heard. The final call. That night, her phone buzzed again. Jules. You did it. She smiled through tears. You heard. I was front row. A pause. What do you want next, Kara? She thought about it. Then said, not to hide anymore. Good answer, Jules replied. Then let's remove the final lock. What do you want next, Kara? Jules had asked the question with no pressure, no expectation, just openness. And Kara had answered without hesitation. Not to hide anymore. She didn't fully know what that meant yet. But when she woke the next morning, something had shifted. Not just in her posture or her wardrobe, or the way her voice lingered softer in the air. Something internal. Quiet. Uncompromising. She didn't need to convince herself she was Kara anymore. She simply was. The final unlock. Her laptop buzzed to life late that afternoon, unprompted. The Obsidian interface returned, sleeker now. Familiar but upgraded. A new message pulsed on the screen. Your firewall is obsolete. Would you like to dismantle it? Yes/no. Kara hesitated. Because she knew what this meant. This wasn't just metaphorical. It was time to purge Kevin's footprint. From her systems. Her online presence. Her virtual past. It meant renaming her GitHub. Replacing email signatures. Telling her clients. Re-registering her freelance accounts. It meant committing. No backup version to boot into if things got too real. She clicked yes. The interface transformed again. Final process initiated. Self-authentication. A progress bar appeared. But this one wasn't automatic. It had 5 fields Kara had to complete herself. Full name. Primary identity word. Expression style. Voice descriptor. Declaration statement. Kara stared at the screen. It felt like filling out a form and simultaneously shedding armor. She typed slowly. Full name, Kara Langston. Primary identity word, emergent. Expression style, feminine fluidity with sharp edges. Voice descriptor, soft thunder. Declaration statement, I am no longer rebooting. I am running my own code now. When she hit submit, the screen flashed. Then it simply said, firewall removed. You're live. Unmasked and unapologetic. Over the next few days, she rebranded everything. Her portfolio site opened with, Hi, I'm Kara. I used to hide behind firewalls. Now I build them while being fully visible myself. She posted a short blog post, equal parts technical and personal. I'm still the same dev you've worked with, but now I'm showing up as me. If you're curious, respectful, or just want to learn, feel free to ask. If not, that's okay. But I won't be coding in the shadows anymore. Kara. Most of her clients didn't blink. A few sent messages of support. One offered a collaboration with an LGBTQ+ nonprofit building secure digital platforms for marginalized youth. Only one ghosted her. And frankly, Kara didn't miss them. Therapy and threads. At Jules' suggestion, Kara also began therapy. Not because she was breaking, but because she wanted to build something deliberate. And she joined a private online forum of people who'd graduated from Obsidian. They weren't all like her. Some had transitioned long ago. Others still identified as crossdressers, non-binary, or gender fluid. But they all understood one thing deeply. You can't evolve without shedding code that no longer serves you. The last invitation. One night, her system pinged with a new encrypted file. It simply said, Mira requests your presence. There was no threat. No countdown. Just coordinates. Kara smiled. The return. She traveled by train. Mira had insisted. Flying is too fast, the instruction said. You need time to dissolve who you were and prepare for who you are becoming. The countryside blurred past the window. She journaled. Doodled. Reread her velvet hour speech. And when she stepped off the platform near an unmarked black car, she didn't hesitate. Club Obsidian again. It was the same building. The ivy had grown thicker, the black drapes heavier. But this time, no blindfold, no hushed corridor. Mira greeted her in a tailored white suit. She opened the door. "Welcome home, Kara." Inside, the main lounge had changed. It wasn't a club anymore. It was a gallery. Portraits lined the walls, beautiful, expressive works of those who had walked this path. And in the center, a canvas still blank. Mira gestured toward it. "You've written your code, spoken your voice, walked your truth. Now, paint your legacy." Kara looked at the brush and smiled. The room was silent. Not in an empty way, but in the way a sacred place holds its breath. The lounge at Club Obsidian, once filled with whispered dares and cryptic commands, now stood transformed into something else entirely. A gallery of arrival. Portraits of people reborn. Smiling. Fierce. Soft. Powerful. Faces that had once trembled in the mirror now shone from canvases, unapologetically whole. And in the center stood Kara, in front of a blank white canvas. The only untouched one in the room. In her hand, a paintbrush. Behind her, Mira. Silent. Present. No more instruction. No more testing. Only this invitation. Paint your legacy. The first stroke. Kara stared at the blank surface, the weight of every step she had taken leading her here pressing gently on her chest. She thought about the boy who once lived behind screens. The girl who emerged in the mirrors. The voice that shook. The heels that wobbled. The night she stood under a spotlight and claimed her name out loud. The moment she pressed submit and erased the last vestiges of a life that no longer fit. And she began to paint. Not a face. Not a name. But a feeling. Her strokes were bold. Abstract. A swirl of rose and obsidian tones, layered with soft yellows and indigo threads. She painted not what she saw in the mirror, but what she felt when she looked. A self in motion. A woman forged in silence and unveiled in voice. A phoenix with code in her veins and glitter in her hair. A question that became a statement. A fear that became a freedom. When she finished, she stepped back, smudged, breathing heavily, heart pounding. It wasn't a perfect painting, but it was hers. The naming. Mira approached the canvas, silent for a long moment. Then she said softly, "She's no longer becoming. She simply is." She reached into her pocket and handed Kara a single silver card. On it, embossed in deep violet, Kara Langston. Tier, architect. Role, guide. Kara blinked. Guide. Mira nodded. There will be more. Just like you. Searching. Stumbling. Questioning. You will be their jewels. Their mirror. Their map. Kara exhaled, her voice steady. "I don't know if I'm ready." Mira smiled. "You are. Because the ones who question themselves the most often lead the best." 1 year later. The Velvet Hour Cafe was still cozy and candlelit. But now, the open mic nights were more than just poetry and music. They were transformation circles. Kara sat at the front table, sipping her usual chamomile tea, watching a nervous young person in soft denim step up to the mic. Their voice shook. Their words stumbled. Kara remembered that feeling intimately. When the mic cut out briefly and the crowd murmured awkwardly, the speaker froze. Kara stood, walked gently to the stage, whispered in their ear. "You're safe. Just speak your name. That's all." The person looked at her, then back at the crowd. I'm Elio. I think. I'm still figuring it out." Applause erupted. Kara stepped back, letting them own the light. And her heart swelled. The final line of code. That night, at home, Kara opened her journal, the same one she had started on the train ride back to Obsidian months ago. She wrote one last entry. "I used to live like a ghost in a machine. Now I run my own system. No firewalls. No aliases. Just truth. My truth. I didn't find myself. I built myself. And I'll keep building with grace, code, heels, and light." She closed the book and smiled, not at the mirror, but at herself.